What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Chalk Talk. And today is the big one. This is the episode that everyone has been asking for. It's going to be going over Palms coverage in College Football 26. And I'm not surprised this is the episode that people asked for me to cover the most, because Palms, I think, is the most misunderstood coverage currently in all of football video games. And I really am going to blame EA for this, because they have not given us the proper visual tools to understand that this is a different coverage from quarters. If you look at the play art here, this looks exactly the same as quarters. There is no way, unless you know what Palms is and how it plays, that it is a different coverage from quarters, other than the name. Okay, so I really blame EA here for not giving us a visual differentiation of just anything, of actually saying what the apex is doing instead of just being a quarter flat defender, because that's not what he is. I think that they just need to update the play art, and it wouldn't be so misunderstood. But we're going to get into it. First, though, I want to play a little thought exercise here, and I want you to imagine that you are a defensive coordinator, and the only thing you need to know about being a defensive coordinator is that you have to be a grumpy old man. You don't physically have to be old, but even if you're young, you got to have the personality of a grumpy old man when it comes to giving up anything on defense. The Eagles, when they were blowing out the Chiefs in the Super Bowl this year, they put their backups in because they were up by 34 or whatever, and they gave up 2 touchdowns to the Chiefs starters. And Vic Fangio, their DC, was furious with the fact that they gave up 2 touchdowns with the backups in to the Chiefs starters. And if that doesn't exemplify the personality of a defensive coordinator, I don't know what does. So I want you to think, when we're playing quarters, the primary weakness that we talked about is regarding the apex defender here and his alignment on number 2. See, he's lined up to the inside of number 2, and that's because we want to take away any in-breaking route that 2 could run. But what it does is it leaves all of the outbreakers wide open, and this is basically free access for the offense. This entire area is free access for the offense when it comes to number 2 running outside, and that's just a leverage problem with the corner. So if you're a defensive coordinator and you see this and the offense is continuing to just pepper you outside of number 2, are you just going to sit there and say, well, they got us there. Oh, they got us the next play. Oh, they got us the play after that. Or are you going to go ahead and make an entirely new coverage with entirely new rules and responsibilities just to stop this one situation? And if you've gotten yourself into the mindset of a defensive coordinator, of a grumpy old man, then you already know what the answer is. And that's why I love all of my defensive coordinators, the ones that I've played for and the ones that I've coached for, because they are truly madmen when it comes to making coverages like this. So we're going to get into the responsibilities for Palms. And it starts out really, really simple. It's exactly the same as quarters. We're playing mod with the corner on number 1, so man outside and deep. The apex is going to wall number 2. And if he goes vertical, we're letting him go, because the safety is doing his 2-to-1 read. So if 2 is vertical, safety takes him man-to-man. If 2 is not vertical, say he's going out, then we're getting our eyes to number 1. And the hook is man-to-man on the running back. So we're going to take a quick look of this playing out against 4 verticals, and you're going to see it's going to play out exactly the same as quarters did and as Meg did before it. In a base situation, quarters, Palms, Meg, they all play out exactly the same. And you're going to see we also have our smash call right here. We get the hitch route from number 1, and instead of driving on it, the corner backs off. He helps number 2 running his slot fade, and the apex collides number 1. So we still have our smash call that we talked about in quarters. We also still have our undercall. When number 1 runs underneath, the corner is not going to chase him because look at this leverage, all this cushion between the two of them, all that space. We're not going to give that up. So we're going to zone off into our quarter and help on whatever comes our way. And the apex is instead going to take 1 man-to-man. So we still have our undercall. We also still have our push call, which is when the running back is fast to the flat and the hook defender is going to yell push, push, push to the apex, who will then drive on 3 out to the flat to have better leverage on the play. So we're just going to play that out here, and you're going to see the apex will drive, and then the hook is going to get onto number 2, and then once 2 has gone vertical, he's going to let him go to the safety, and then go back to his intermediate dig area that he's going to sit in very stubbornly. All of this is going to change, however, with one simple route adjustment. And that is when number 2 runs that quick out in the first 5 yards to the flat. We know this is a leverage problem, so we're getting rid of it. What's going to happen? When 2 runs out, the apex is going to make an out call. And what that's going to do is that's going to tell the corner that number 2 is coming out within the first 5 yards, and the corner is going to drive on this to collision number 2. And the safety, as soon as he sees 2 going out, he's going to bust his you-know-what to get out here to cover number 1. So we're going to go ahead and play this out, and you're going to see the out call in full effect right here. You see the corner is starting to drive on number 2, and the safety is getting over to cover number 1. This fixes the leverage problem that quarters has against the quick out from number 2. And the apex, there's nothing for him to do in this situation, so his progression will then take him to go to the flat and take whatever comes to the flat. So say if number 3 here, when he's back on the line right here, he runs something underneath, the apex would be able to drive and collect on that. What we've done here is essentially just created cover 2, if you really think about it. Because what's happening here? When he runs out, he is driving as if he is playing a flat, and he is getting out, and he's the only deep defender on this side, because remember, these guys are still playing just their regular quarters because nothing has changed on the left side. It's only changed on the right side. So the way that you should think about palms against doubles is that it is simply quarters with the option to turn into cover 2 when 2 runs out to the flat in the first 5 yards. Now, this example that I'm going to show right here is something that you have to note. You cannot make a push call when there is an out call also in effect. And the reason for this is I want you to think about what the push call does. The push call is the Mike linebacker telling the apex we need to switch because I'm out leveraged to the flat. And so the apex needs to take 3, and the hook will then take the apex responsibility of walling 2 to let him go vertical. But the problem is, if we try and run a push call here, we're in even a worse leverage situation here. We're in a better position when it comes to the apex driving on the back out the flat, but we're in a terrible position with the hook trying to get out to this. So we can't make that call. So the hook is just going to have to suck it up and deal with it, of getting to 3 out the backfield. Now, in this situation, it works out quite well because we have the corner able to drive on number 2 going out, and then the apex, remember, he's going to take whatever goes to the flat. Here comes the back to the flat, and he can just pick it up and it'll work just like that. So we're just going to play it out real quick right now. Remember, this is not a push call. This is simply just playing out the defense as it's supposed to be. But here's the problem. This is something that the game kind of gets wrong here, because look at where the hook lines up at the end of the play. He's all the way on the outside the hash marks. I think this is because in the game they're still making the push call. The problem is, look at all of the space that's open in this area of the field, in this dig window that the hook should be settling into. So a great way, if you know your opponent's running palms, if you want to send 2 out quick to the flat and then 3 out to the flat, and you drag the hook all the way over here, you just run a dig route with number 2, you're going to have a wide open completion here. So that is something that the game does get wrong in terms of the positioning of the hook defender. He should not be making this call. You see he actually does shift back to the middle of the field, but there is going to be a window for where you can complete this throw. As for the weaknesses of palms, I want you to think about what the weaknesses of cover 2 are. The primary weakness is going to be the hole shot to number 1, which you can see right here in that moment where the corner is beginning to drive. If this safety is not able to book it and get all the way out, there is a window for you as the quarterback to throw this back shoulder and fade the receiver out. Right, so that's the coaching point that we get as receivers, to never run our routes beyond the top of the numbers, because we want to give space for the quarterback to fade us out naturally. And this is that situation where if you were able to throw a back shoulder pass well in this game, you just throw that back shoulder ball and he's got all this space out here to adjust and fade out to, and that's an easy completion. In the game, it doesn't work out as well, but you can see with the leverage, it was there, but we get a wonky interaction with the ball and the receiver. But one that works out a little bit better is this double out concept. Now, this is not something that teams really run, but you absolutely can run it if you know that your opponent is running palms. Like if they've just been spamming it against doubles, you could run this, because what's going to happen? Corner's going to drive on this route by 2, and then what do we have here? We got a massive leverage problem. There's 5 yards between the safety and this outbreaking route, and you see here, he is not going to get there in time. So we're going to be able to get a nice big chunk completion right here. As soon as that corner starts to drive, we have a window. It's not a perfect throw every time, but it certainly will work. And again, that's something where if your opponent's just running palms coverage and that's it, you can throw that. Which is why palms is not a coverage that you should be running every single play. It is a trap coverage. This is something that you run if you are running quarters primarily, and you sprinkle in palms occasionally to catch your opponent off balance. It's the same thing as if you run a lot of cover 3 and then you rotate into cover 2. It's something that the offense is not expecting you to do. So it's a great thing to call, say, on 3rd and short, 4th and short, where the offense might run like a sprint out. If we can maybe go back here just a little bit. So say if we want to run like a sprint out with this guy going out and just the number 1 running a clear out here, and we're going to roll this way and just try and look for an easy throw. Well, all of a sudden, we think that at the snap, this is going to be free access because look at the leverage problem with the apex. But instead, we're going to have the corner driving on this, and then we might get a panic throw, an interception, an incompletion, or a throwaway, a win for the defense. So that is all the good stuff that we get here with palms against doubles. Okay, we're now going to talk about palms being run against trips, and this is where people have the most confusion, because this is where palms can be exploited big time and get beat deep badly, is if you're running it against trips and you're not knowing what exactly is happening, because there are some big play opportunities that you can give up here. This is not palms that the game puts you in. You will call palms, but against trips, the game is going to do one of its automatic checks to try and help you, and it's going to put you in a coverage that is called stubby. Okay, and we talked about this in the quarters episode, how against trips it checks you into stump. It does the same thing here. Stubby is the most common check in real life that teams use against trips, and that is because teams are very rarely willing to throw this deep outside vertical ball to number 1, which is why we press the corner. So we run stubby, which has the corner, press man, Meg on number 1. And then we're going to run a triangle coverage to handle these 2 receivers. So we have 2 receivers and 3 defenders responsible for them. And the coverage that we've chosen to run to cover those 2 receivers is palms. Why is that? Well, it's because when in trips, the offense loves to send number 3 out short and fast, right? Everyone's favorite concept out of trips is a flood. We have short, intermediate, deep. This is meant to take that away. So I already highlighted what the corner's responsibility is. He's press man-to-man, Meg on number 1. We don't have to worry about him. And then we're just simply shifting our palms assignment 1 man inside. The apex is now essentially playing like he is the corner on the outside in doubles. And the hook is now essentially playing like the apex would in doubles. So if 3 runs out fast to the flat, the apex is going to drive to collide that, and then the hook is going to move out to wall number 2. To help with this, you'll notice the leverage of the apex defender is different. He is now actually aligned with outside leverage on number 2 to help him be able to drive on anything that goes to number 3. The safety, instead of doing his 2-to-1 read, which would have him reading here to here, is now doing a 3-to-2 read. So he's going to start by watching what 3 does. If 3 runs out, he's going to help on anything with number 2. On the backside, just to cover this, because we have split the coverage now, we are Meg here on number 1. He's covered up by the defensive pre-play menu, but there is number 1 here, and we are Meg on him. And then the weak apex is man-to-man on the running back. If the running back doesn't go out, he's going to zone out to his curl flat defender responsibility. What gets interesting, though, is the weak safety. Because think about it. When we run quarters, he's responsible for number 3 going vertical because we're running poach. But if 3 goes vertical, the safety's going to take him. And if 3 doesn't go vertical, 2 goes vertical, the safety will take him. So there really is no true responsibility for the backside safety in stubby. So this is where, if you want to user someone on defense, you need to user this guy. Because you can do whatever you want with him. Is there a stud lined up here at number 1? You can help on him. Do you want to provide more help here because number 3 is really, really fast and you think that this is too much open space for him to run down the middle of the field? You can go help on him. Do you want to start getting crazy? You can bring him down here and then blitz him. This is where we can start getting a bit creative. You can blitz the apex and then have the safety take the responsibility of the running back. This is where we start to get to build our actual defense here and build pressure packages and scheme up free rushers by calling the right coverage that have players who don't have a true role in the defense. So we're going to get our rep here just against 4 verticals, as we always like to show. You see we get our press man here on the outside. We're running with him step for step. 3 went vertical, so we have, this is the weak safety here on the right, and this is the weak safety, excuse me. The player on the right is the strong safety. In game, if you do not user the weak side safety, he will automatically poach and he'll play it just like he does in quarters. You don't have to, though. If you choose to user him, you can do whatever you want with him. That's the beauty of the defense. This does bring up one weakness of Stubby, which is number 2. If he's able to beat the apex deep, then all you gotta do is put 3 vertical, and then there's no help for the apex defender. So you need to have a really fast guy playing in that nickel spot to be your apex, because all the offense has to do is send 3 vertical and 2 vertical right after him, and he has no help. So you have to be aware and alert for that. But we'll then get into what happens when we put 3 out. It's going to look exactly the same as it does in palms. You're going to see the apex will start to drive. We get that here. Safety has picked up 3 going vertical. You see the hook is kind of walling him. He doesn't get hands on. Obviously, you can't do that beyond that 5-yard illegal contact zone, but he is walling him off. So it looks just like palms is against doubles, because we're not concerned about what's going on out here, which is another weakness of Stubby. If the offense is willing and able to make this throw, you might not want to run Stubby that week. So you got to have good corners who can also play press on the outside if you want to run Stubby, or go against really weak receivers who can't get off of a press. One area where the game is wrong here is when we send number 2 underneath and shallow. The pass coverage glossary, which I'm using to get the teaching responsibilities here that most coaches use, specifies that the apex should not follow number 2 if he goes shallow. And you can look at it right here. It's a leverage problem. The apex is aligned with outside leverage on number 2. So if number 2 runs shallow inside with already 5 yards of cushion and proper leverage on the apex, there's no chance that we're going to get him. So the way this should be played out is the hook should drive on whatever the first crosser he sees is. If that's 3 running across, he takes 3. If it's 2 running across, then he just needs to collect and run with it. In this case, we have fantastic leverage with the hook over number 2. But you're going to see in the game, they're going to have the apex run with this. And you're going to see it's no contest. That is open. All you got to do is do something to occupy this guy, and you're going to have free access to this throw all day, every day. So that's something where the game does get this wrong here. The apex should not be following number 2. Instead, he should be getting out to the flat and doing his kind of progression of play the flat. If nothing else is coming into the flat, then I start reading the quarterback's eyes and get to where the ball is going. I show here 3 is going underneath, and that's being played correctly. We have a slow linebacker going against a wide receiver, so obviously 3 is pulling away from him, but this is played correctly. The hook is taking 3 going underneath. And then we just have 2 quick reps coming up here to show that we are Meg on the outside. So you see we have absolutely jammed up number 1 running this hitch route, and then we're going to put him underneath here just to show that there is no smash call, there is no under call. We are truly Meg on the front side there with that corner. And we've already talked about the weaknesses of Stubby. You can throw it deep to number 1. If you can beat him in the press, you can send him vertical and him vertical. If your number 2 is fast enough to beat their apex, and you have a one-on-one that you think you can take advantage of. And then in game, what you'll be able to do is put him underneath and then bring the back out, because the apex is going to run with this and leave no one in the flat, which I believe you're going to see here. Yeah, I go ahead and I set this up, and you're going to see there's no one in the flat. There is no one within 10 yards of the running back, and there is nothing but green grass out here for him to run. So in game, if you're looking to get some quick yardage, you send number 2 underneath, you put the back out the other way, you get a little mesh here, and you're going to get a big completion. We're going to go ahead and get into what empty looks like against palms. We're still going to be running box and triangle. We went over this in the quarters episode, so we're going to be running a triangle coverage on the backside here with these 3 guys against these 2 receivers. And the triangle coverage that they're choosing to run is palms, because we call palms. So if he goes out, the corner will drive, the safety will get over. We're basically playing cover 2. Else, it plays out just like quarters. And then on the strong side, we're going to be playing Stubby once again. Alright, so we're man-to-man here. And then it's these 3 for these 2. So this is going to play out just like you would expect. So we have 1 rep here. We put weak number 2 going out. You see, corner is driving, safety is playing out. Looks just like cover 2. Nothing surprising there. And then next rep, we're going to go ahead and get number 3 going out against Stubby on the strong side. It plays out just like Stubby would. And that's it for empty. It plays out just like that. We've covered both Stubby and palms before. So when you get trips to one side, doubles to the other side, it's going to play out the exact same way. Talking about bunch, same thing. Quick, fast, and easy. To the bunch side, right here, we're playing box, which we went over in the quarters episode, but just to quickly go over it, corner is going to have the second out breaking route. If no one is the second out breaking route, he is going to take the outside vertical route. The apex, actually I think I have these guys messed up. This is the corner. This guy's the apex. But the apex is going to take the first outbreaking route. If there is no first outbreaking route, he will get to the flat. The hook is going to take the first in-breaking route. If there is no first in-breaking route, he gets this hook dig window. And the safety is going to take the second in-breaking route. And if there is no second in-breaking route, then he's going to help on the inside vertical route. And we just have a couple reps here to test out how bunch plays. Right here, we get a little spot concept on the strong side, and then we get a smash concept on the outside. And this plays out exactly how you would expect it to. We get a double here on the one vertical route. The apex is taking the flat, and the hook is playing his hook on this spot route. And then on this side, because this is empty bunch that we have here, this is empty bunch. So this is 1 running out and then 2 going vertical. So they're going to play this just like they would with quarters and make a smash call. Now this is really poor leverage because this is a linebacker trying to cover a running back running out. So that's why it's so open. But they are playing this correctly. So you get that smash call, and then they kind of run into each other here with some weird leverage going on. So it's not perfect, but they are playing it correctly by the rules. And we're going to keep going here. It's always good to get reps against bunch just to see how they would play things out. So right here, we get a flood concept. how we're going to play this. Corner will take him. Safety will help double until we get the corner route, in which case the corner is going to switch off to then take that. The apex will drive on the flat route. There's no one here, so the hook should get back to the intermediate hook area. And then we have the same route concept with these two guys, so we'll get our smash call on the backside. And see, we get exactly that. We get that switch. The hook defender, he sits out here, and then as soon as he realizes there's no one out there, he does start shuffling his way back inside. I prefer if he would actually turn and run, but we take what we can get. And then I just start making stuff up here. We run our spot here again, but this time we put number 1 on the out and number 2 going vertical, and you see they play it just like palms. The corner breaks off the vertical route and is crashing on the out breaking route by number 2, albeit a little bit slow because they did it from a stack alignment. Next rep here, again, we're just getting funky. So I believe I did this. So we're really trying to test the communication here of the defense. Again, this is just a video game though, so they're going to play this out perfectly. The apex will take number 3. The real question is going to come into who is the hook going to identify as the first in-breaking route. My bet, probably on this guy because it's a shallow, and then the safety will take the dig. And that's exactly what we get. Now here, we got a little drive corner action going on. So hook is going to drive on the underneath route. The safety is going to take the dig, and the corner is going to be all alone on his responsibility for that corner route. There's going to be no one for the apex here, so he's going to just get to the flat and probably just sit there. Yep, he's just sitting there. Ideally, you would tell the corner or the apex here, there's no one here, so start working your way to where all the action is instead of just sitting out there being useless. But again, it's a video game, it's coded in, there's not much that we can do about it. Lastly here, we have 4 strong. Playing palms against 4 strong, just like against quarters, we finally actually get matching principles. Last year, the game would just kind of freak out when we got 4 strong, and it would just zone everyone out to be spot drop cover 4. Not good for a defense to sit and spot drop against modern offenses. Same thing here. We're getting stubby. We're man to man. Here, we have a triangle. And then we're man to man here. And the weak side apex is going to match to whoever the final number 4 is. So in this situation, the back is going to run a check and release. So he is going to kind of freak out the apex, and he's not going to recognize that he's an eligible receiver, and he's going to start zoning out to the flat. In this case, the hook will drive down and take him, because remember, the hook does not have number 3 vertical. That is the safety's responsibility. So the hook is available to drive on this. So what you could do is you could, in theory, line up and blitz this guy, and then use the hook and just take the back wherever he goes. If he sits, if he goes out, whatever, you could take him man to man. So you can get a little bit funky there with palms against 4 strong. When running this against 4 verticals, I did notice that we got a bit of a weird situation here with a switch. You're going to see the apex is going to break off of number 2 and instead now go to cover number 3. My only idea for why this happened is because at the snap, you're going to see the tight end gets bumped by the defensive end. He gets chucked here. So he gets chucked by this defensive end lined up right here. And that slows his release down so much that I think it probably does something with the coding. It still gets covered. In this case, the safety takes number 2, and then the apex is able to come over and take number 3. It still works. It's wrong, but it still works. So that's something that I saw that and I said, I want to see this again. So I went ahead and I moved the tight end out to try and see if it was the bump. And that's exactly what it was. Now we do run into another problem where this tight end is actually so slow that the safety who is doing his 3-2 read doesn't think he's going vertical in time. So instead, he goes to cover number 2, and the linebacker is now left man-to-man against a tight end. So again, like, it ends up covering all the receivers in theory, but like, this is wide open. So this is a situation where, again, you probably want to be user controlling the hook defender or user controlling the weak safety who doesn't have a responsibility. And ideally, I would like for him to start poaching over here to try and actually cover this seam route or the bender by the tight end. But we do go ahead here and get into showing what Palms actually does look like against 4 strong. We still have the same problem that we had against trips, where the apex will follow number 2 breaking in across the field. Here I put him on a dig, and you're going to see the exact same problem play out. He's going to go ahead and run with him. So same thing you can do. You can put the back and send him out here, and we got all of this green grass here for him to run. So you can still take advantage of that there. However, we go ahead, we put number 3 running something shallow underneath. It still plays out exactly correctly. Or when 3 runs out, it still plays exactly the way it should. If 4 ends up going out, so if the back here on this next play, you're going to see it, I put the back on just a quick out route. What will happen is the apex will try and match to him. Now, this is obviously a massive leverage issue. Ideally, you would see the apex actually drive on this, but he's going to be taking number 2 vertical. Yeah, see, he's taking 2 vertical, and the weird bump happens, and then he switches to number 3. So there's a massive leverage problem here. So Palms coverage kind of breaks down a bit against trips if you know what to look for. Really, you got to manipulate the apex as much as you possibly can by putting him on shallow intermediates to the inside. The apex will still run with him. You see here, we're going to go ahead and we're going to put 3 going out. This will play exactly like Palms should. The corner will drive on it, and we have the Mike matching to the outside route from number 4. And then we're just testing here, showing that we are in fact Meg on the backside. We're going to put the outside receiver on a shallow, and we get a run with him. So that is Palms. That's how Palms works in game. It's a complicated coverage, but once you're able to actually understand the rules behind it, you understand the situations where you need to use it. It is a situational call. It should not be your base defense because it is very easy to beat if you know it's coming. But as a trap coverage, just like you run a cover 2 invert out of a 1 high shell to trick that quick throw to the flat and you hopefully get a pick off of it, it's the exact same purpose here with Palms. It does start to break down in its rules and assignments against trips and 4 strong, again, like we've been talking about, with the apex following 2 shallow and inside. So there is a way to manipulate that in game. Otherwise, to beat it, you gotta treat the palm side like it's cover 2, try and hit that hole shot, and then against trips, you want to try and throw that outside vertical route to number 1, or send 3 vertical and then 2 vertical as well if you have a number 2 that can go ahead and beat the apex defender deep. That's it. We have gone over the 3 main quarters coverages that you can run in the game, and now you're prepared to run anything that has a quarters base around it. You see here, we have cover 6 Willie. You're prepared now to run cover 6, because what's cover 6? It is Stubby on this side, and in this variant, it's Willie, which is man-to-man on the backside. Regular cover 6 is Stubby, and then cover 2. If you want to run cover 9, it's the same exact thing. One side is playing quarters and the other side is playing cover 2, except we're playing cover 2 to the passing strength. So if there's 3 receivers to one side and you call cover 9, you'll get cover 2 to the trip side and cover 4 to the back side. So now you're prepared to run anything that is a quarters base in the game. And that's where we're going to stop our coverage series for a little bit. I put out a poll on the channel and we got a good number of respondents. I was asking what you wanted to see next because I was torn between going over the stunts and twists and how they work, along with showing some playbook installs for stunts and twists, talking about how they work for college and pro teams, and then possibly moving over to the offensive side of the ball was the other choice. And I didn't really mind because I know I'm going to cover all these things. You all chose that you wanted to see some offensive stuff. So the next Chalk Talk that we're going to be doing, we're going to be diving into my custom offensive playbook that I run in the Rice Dynasty here on the channel. If you want to see what that offense looks like in full, I have 2 games uploaded right now. I have the 3rd edited. I just need to do voiceover on it, and then it's going to get uploaded also. So definitely go ahead and check those out. But we're going to start with my favorite rush concept that is brand new this year in College Football 26. I'm not going to say what it is. You got to tune in to watch that. But I definitely appreciate the support on all the videos, especially the Chalk Talk videos. The support on those has been excellent. I am very, very happy that people are enjoying these and learning something from them. That's the whole goal here, is that we're able to teach and create some smarter, better football fans and players. So I really appreciate the support. If you like this, definitely go ahead, like and subscribe, stick around, because I'm going to be putting out a lot more content going over all the schemes and techniques and strategies here that you can do in College Football 26 and all football games. All these football games are produced by the same company. So when Madden comes out, you can go ahead and run it. And when Madden comes out next year, and when CFB comes out next year, and the year after that, and after that, you can still run these because these are foundational concepts that are run in real football games. So this is all just real football, folks. And we're just going to be running it together. So I hope you enjoyed. Definitely stick around if you did. And I will catch you next time. Take care.